Okay, so that was 5 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and do the answer now just to make sure we get through all 6 problems. I wanna make sure we have enough time today. So again, put your answers in the chat so I can just make sure you're kind of understanding it, or if you have a guess at the answer, you can put that in too. Um, so unlike the other sessions, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it so you guys can all see how to do it for the test. So basically for this one, how you're gonna start, how I always start is just by labeling all my variables that I will have. So I'll have our N, our coupon, our payment, our I, or that's your yield to maturity. So I'm seeing a few answers in the chat, and I just want to give you guys a hint before we go over it. So you're actually not solving for payment. You want to know, what do you need to deposit right now, today, at this moment, to have it paid off on the due date? So that's going to end up being your present value. You want to know what to pay right now. So try resolving it, and we'll go over it in like a minute. Pay that full amount off. So that is your future value. So that's your overall goal, is to pay that off. So then your I, you have a 3.6% interest, but it says it compounds monthly. So again, you need a change for that. So you're going to divide it by 12. And then your payment is 0. No part of this problem says every month you're going to put in a certain amount or how much you need to pay every month. It's just your overall. So payment is actually 0. Now we're going to solve for a present value, which is the amount you're going to pay right now to have the full 25,000 payoff. So again, this is the simple problem. So your present value, oops, I'm going to change this to a percentage. So present value, your rate, your N, your payment, and your future value. So you should end up with negative 20,872 right now. Still seeing some confusion in the chat. Do you guys want to put where you include in the chat where you kind of went wrong on this, or? Okay. Yeah. So it's negative because it's like a payment. You're gonna put in the money, so it's negative. Yeah. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of answers in the chat, so I'm gonna guess you guys are finishing up or you're already done. So we can go through this one. I'm seeing a few different answers. So this one should be pretty simple, again, as long as you set it up right. Um, you should be good with this one. So again, this is the way I set it up. So first, just label everything. So you're gonna have 4 years. Okay, so we start with this and I'll include the rate. So we have a rate of 5%. So we're just gonna label that. Your initial money that you put in was 1 million. And then you have your 4 years of cash flows. So label those. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do for this is find your net present value, but this is without the initial investment. So I always label it again, try and get rid of your little mistakes that may cause you to get the answer wrong. So I label it NPV without initial, just kind of tells me what step I'm on. So you just do equals NPV and it tells you discount first. So you click on your 5% and then you do all the cash flows without your initial investment. You press enter and you should get 1,484,000, so on, so on. And then the next thing I do is I bring down again my initial investment. So you can just click on this cell and it brings it down. And then I label that I need to find the NPV with the initial. So I just label it NPV. And all you're doing is taking your NPV without the initial and subtracting out your initial payment. So you should end up with 484,174.91 cents. So this is the way you would go about this problem. For the people that were getting the answer wrong, does it make sense? Are you still confused about a certain part or anything? Hopefully this helps. If you guys do have questions, put it in the chat and I'll take a look. But again, I can't really emphasize this enough. This segment and the next segment, please lay out everything in your Excel sheet and don't keep things like in your head, like assuming, because that's where all the mistakes happen. The initial investment isn't a negative number because you subtract it out here anyway. Right here, you subtract it, so you don't really have to make it a negative. So it doesn't really matter. Okay, if you got the answer a different way, well, I'm not sure how you did it, but if you get the same answer, I don't know how it would work on other problems, but that's up to you. From the formula from the lecture. Okay, I don't really know what formula that is, but this is the way I would go about it. If someone wants to put the formula in the chat, I can look at it. But yeah, my NPV rate. Okay, yeah. So basically, all she's doing is the professor is taking the initial investment and you make it negative, And then when you're adding it into the equation, it's literally just taking out this step and this step. You're just putting them into one. So if you make the initial negative, but you add it, it's the same thing as subtracting a positive. So you can do it either way. You can make it negative 1 million and then do your NPV plus negative a million. It's the same thing. Again, I always like to separate it because I don't want mistakes. And seeing it all laid out just lets you break it down a little bit more. So you guys can do it whatever way is better for you. It's the same thing. Basically, it's just, yeah, adding a negative and subtracting a positive is saying the same thing. So it's up to you guys. But anyway, if there aren't any other questions, amount of cash. So if I was the jeweler, or if I was doing this payment plan, you could have created like a larger rate, because then over time it would have added up to more money than just paying it up front, because a lot of people may not like want to do the math while they're seeing it, and they're like, oh, 92 a month for like a certain percent might be a lot better than just paying it. Or you can do this plan, but you're still going to look and compare it to the price of right now. The $1,000 isn't in the future, because that might change for whatever reasons. You want to look and compare it to right now. So you're going to solve for present value, and your future value is going to be fully paid off by the end, because you're going to pay for the full price of the necklace. The 19% interest rate is for the entire year. I thought it was monthly interest. Unless it says 19% interest per month or like monthly, assume that it says that it's yearly and you have to adjust for monthly. So it says $92.18 a month. And if it said with 19% interest per month, like that's where you would assume. But you have to assume that the 19% is still for the year. Yeah, so it's annual unless stated otherwise. Is this assuming you can get a 19% return on the money you don't spend if you go with the monthly plan? 19% return on the money you don't spend. I'm not really sure what you mean by that. But yeah. So anyway, this is how you solve this problem. Hopefully it's pretty easy. So I was having a glitch on 4. I had to redo it real quick, but we're gonna go back to number 4. It should be kind of simple. So number 4 is saying you have a callable bond that pays out $31.20 every 6 months, and the interest rates of the market just moved to 3.5%. What will happen to your bonds? So take a second, think about this, think about what it's asking, and put your answers in the chat if you have an idea. 2, and then you multiply it by 1,000 and you get your $62. So I did the opposite. I took the payment, multiplied it by 2, divided by 1,000 to get your percentage. And that's how you end up at 6.24% yearly, and you're just comparing it to the yearly market rate. Hope that helped and made a little bit more sense. So we're gonna start the last one, and then I will have a little bit of extra time at the end for like questions or any concerns. I know there were a bunch in class on Tuesday, especially from the 10:30 class, so I can stay at 8. 102.34 for it. So again, take a few minutes and then put your answers in the chat as soon as you're done solving for it. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of answers in the chat, so I'm gonna guess you guys are close to finish. If not, you already finished. So we're gonna go through it. So again, yes, as every other problem, you're gonna start by labeling everything you have. So your overall goal is to get your coupon percentage. So in order to get a coupon, you have to solve for your payment. So we're first going to solve for a payment. So reading through the problem, we have a yield to maturity of 7.8%. Then we have a present value of negative 1,200 or 1,023.4. And then we have a future value of 1,000 because it is a bond. And we have a N of 15. Now there's nothing that has to be adjusted or anything. So we're just going to solve for a payment. So you're going to take your rate, your number of periods, and 70 cents for your payment. Now, as you know, to get a payment, you have to multiply your coupon by 1,000. So we're going to do opposite. So we're going to take our payment and divide it by 1,000. And you have to change it to a percentage. And oh wait, what happened? Oh, this is wrong. It has to be 1,000. Okay, so you should be left with 8.07%. So that's just kind of like a backwards. Instead of being given the coupon, you're solving for the coupon. So first you have to solve for the payment. Hopefully that made sense for the people that were getting different answers. Just by seeing it, it kind of like makes a little bit more sense. How did you get 1,023.4? Okay, so this is kind of what we talked about. Yeah, bond price. So what we talked about the last session, but also I mentioned it in class, at least for the 1030 class. So if you see like a bond problem, it's only in bonds, and it says you paid 102.34 and there is no dollar sign. That means you have to move the decimal over 1. Why they write it like that, I'm not sure, but they write bonds like that. And so if you don't see a dollar sign, then you have to move the decimal point over 1. It's different than basis points. This is like bond price, so like don't get them confused. So, okay, so I'm going to end the recording. So if you guys have any questions,